So, a couple months ago, a friend of mine pre-ordered tickets to see this movie that I've never heard of and wanted to go watch it. The issue was the movie was in 70 and we had front center row seats, like at the very top where your face is basically right next to the screen. I went with him, of course, as being a good friend, and it was his turn to choose the movie. This was group of three of us, and I didn't even know who the main character was at the time, which I partially blame school and me lacking paying attention. No, it was definitely school, because I asked my friends the same thing and they weren't taught this in their history class either. At the end of the day, I thought it was going to be a boring war movie, the worst seats possible, being loud as hell, but I was wrong. Oppenheimer is the best movie of 2023. This movie is directed by Christopher Nolan. If you don't know him, he was the same person who also directed the Dark Knight trilogy, Batman, and Interstellar, just to name a few. All of those movies are very highly rated. Should definitely recommend watching them too. And the cast starring Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, who is best known for his role in Peaky Blinders and Inception, another Christopher Nolan film. So they have a history working together. And they were all very highly rated shows and movies. And then we have Robert Downey Jr., who plays the main antagonist for this film, aka Iron Man, which is pretty cool. And then you even have characters like Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid making a cameo, which is wild. And also Josh Peck was in there. I didn't even notice him at first, but apparently he was the guy who pressed the button for the first test of the atomic bomb, which is pretty wild. And which brings me to my next point, unfortunately. This cast is not very diverse. It's mostly a bunch of male white dudes, which is pretty accurate to history because that's all there was in the workforce back then. But, you know, it was a little bit hard to follow at times because you see big names come and go and whatnot. But, you know, it was pretty accurate to history, so it's not a major con. But already, with a cast like this and the director himself, this movie already has high expectations and big shoes to fill. The question is, did they fill them? And the answer is yes. What is this movie about? And it is about the man behind the atomic bomb, Robert J. Oppenheimer. By the way, this is a quick spoiler warning. This is the warning. You have been warned. Click off now and come watch it later if you haven't, because this movie is very good. And yeah. Oh, there's also some slight nudity. So just, you've been warned right now for that, but ever so slightly. Oppenheimer is a 2023 epic biographical thriller film written and directed by Christopher Nolan. The film chronicles the career of American theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. The story predominantly focuses on Oppenheimer's studies, his direction of the Manhattan Project during World War II, and his eventual downfall from grace due to his 1954 security hearing. It wasn't very pretty at all. So right off the bat, I just gotta say, this film was amazing. Definitely worth every single cent. The film flashes back between three separate points in time. The first one being Oppenheimer's early life studying as a physicist, being a teacher, up until him working into the Manhattan Project for creating the atomic bomb. The second one is that 1954 security hearing, where Oppenheimer is, well, not on trial, he's on a private hearing, but he is basically in a one-sided argument, seeing if he is found guilty of being a communist or not, and see if he can get his security clearance so he could work on other projects for the US. And the third one is an actual court case, a trial. The main antagonist, the one that Robert Downey Jr. plays, Louis Strauss, yeah, he is in an actual hearing and he's being convicted. Bottom line, he hates Oppenheimer with a passion. He's basically preying on this guy's downfall and does some really shady stuff to try to bring him down, which he somewhat succeeds in. Each separate point in time has a unique film style. First early parts in Oppenheimer's life were mostly in color, as well as hearing was in color, but I felt like it was a more modern look. Oppenheimer's early life was filmed in a more older, more vivid style because they were recalling events from his past. And apparently when I did some research for the film, the color scenes are meant to be subjective from Oppenheimer's perspective, making Oppenheimer an unreliable narrator, which is pretty cool. It reminds me of the 2019 Joker movie. I just love unreliable narrators. It really makes you think what was the main truth. And then the black and white scenes were more objective. So they were more factual, meaning those were events that actually took place. And it was really cool comparing the scenes and whatnot. It was beautiful. The film was just amazing in that aspect. So like the trial with Robert Downey Jr.'s character was in black and white, and most other scenes were in color, with a few exceptions where like they transition between black and white and color for the same scene, which was pretty cool. So bottom line, you don't really need to know a lot about Oppenheimer or the film in general to understand it. They do a pretty good job of explaining it. Like, I only came into film knowing basic high school knowledge and Cold War knowledge. I didn't even know who Oppenheimer was and pretty much understood the film completely. So I wouldn't be worried about it. You don't need to do your history work or anything like that. And they were beautiful transitions going back and forth between timelines. It was almost seamless. It was pretty great. Like, I even caught me off guard a couple of times. Like, okay, wait, so now we're in this time period. Oh, wait, no, we're back over here now. And then I was like, wait, but the colors changed from black and white to color, and had me engaged. I was always on the edge of my seat trying to follow what was going on. It was so seamless though, and it was really well done. And the film was also pretty accurate about how the US hated communism at that time period. Which brings me to my next point. The film does a great job showing the human side of Oppenheimer in the color scenes. It showed how he loved the fame and the attention, and his love for his job and being a scientist and a teacher. He was a great teacher, but he showed how much guilt he had built up over the years for the atomic bomb. And that's a heavy toll for someone who created a weapon for mass destruction. But the black and white world, it didn't show what he was thinking. He was a little bit more colder, I would say, and it was really hard to tell what he was thinking at that time. So I thought the actor who played him did a pretty spectacular job at that. It was almost like he was playing two different characters, which is pretty cool. And it also did a great job showing the inhumane side of some characters. There was a line from one president, I forgot the name of the president, about Oppenheimer creating the atomic bomb, because he saw Oppenheimer was against manufacturing more of these and whatnot, and he called him, like, I think like a wimp or something like that, saying he was a baby, and that got under my skin. I was like, boy, if you don't stop. But it showed the inhumane sides of some characters, and I thought that was pretty cool. It was basically science, but at what cost? He got what he wanted, I guess, but at the same time, he did have to pay a heavy price for it. Which brings me to the quote, the infamous Oppenheimer. Well, I guess not Oppenheimer quote. In this film, they explicitly stated that he got it from, I believe, a book, quoting I'm going to butcher this, Bhagavad Gita. After witnessing the first nuclear explosion, now I have become death, destroyer of worlds. Because it really shows the impact of how he feels he had on the world with the creation of the atomic bomb. But, it wasn't just him. The film also really showed how, yeah, he was the guy mostly in charge of it, but it was more of a team effort. Like, he could not have done this alone. Everyone put a lot of time and effort into making the bomb. But aside from that, the film isn't just about the bomb. The bomb only takes up like not even 10 minutes or something like that for just a test bomb, right? The film, as the name states, is about Oppenheimer. It shows the complex life of him. He is a very complex man, with his relationships, his affairs, with his family and his work life, and in general with being communist and his radical ideals. It was very hard. His family had to relocate, and to like a desert. Well, all the scientists and their families had to move. They had to basically build a town on top of a desert for the testing site, and so they can study and make sure there were no spies, which was pretty wild. His wife was an alcoholic too, and he had to worry about the baby because she wasn't really taking care of their first child, which was pretty crazy. You would expect them to see the warning signs beforehand, but those scenes were in color. You know what they say, love is blind. So you probably didn't see the warning signs beforehand. But overall, the film really shows how stressful it is and how highly, in a way, Oppenheimer sees himself. With good reason too, because he is the guy who helped create the atomic bomb. But like, you could tell how much of a toll this takes on him and how stressed out he is. And at times he doesn't even know what he wants or how he feels. He's confused about that as well. Eventually, at the end of the day, there is a happy ending with Oppenheimer, I receiving I believe like a medal and showing recognition for what he did, for better or worse, of course. And then Junior gets his rights taken away and his clearance taken away, despite Oppenheimer almost being considered a communist in court. And that's pretty much the film. It's just a happy ending. But looking through the lists of movies yet to come and movies that already came out, I would say Oppenheimer just ranks above all other films. It is the best movie of 2023. It's better than Spider-Man, that's for sure. If you haven't seen my review on that, you should definitely check it out. But yeah, I would rate it a 9 out of 10. A fantastic film. Definitely worth every single cent for the price of it. It's beautiful. You should definitely go watch it. Now I could finally relax. I don't have to watch any more movies. Oh crap. Alright guys, this is DS Flame signing out.